Welcome, everyone, to After School with the Admins. I'm your host, Marco Torillo, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hey, everyone. It's Des Caldwell. Appreciate you all having a listen. Listen, we've got a great guest today. We're really excited to introduce. Marco, will you do the honors?
Sure. We are lucky to have this year's National Assistant Principal of the Year for high schools. He was also South Carolina State's High School Assistant Principal of the Year, and now first-year principal of a middle school, which we'll definitely have to get into the switch going from high school to middle school and those feelings, because we've both, Des and I, have some experience dealing with that too. We have with us the man, the myth, the legend, Saani Perry.
Hello. It is great to be here. There's definitely a switch from high school to middle school. But yes, I'm excited to be here and I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome. Thanks again for joining us today. We always love to start off with the question of, tell us about your journey into becoming an educator and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. Great question. So I was a military brat. So my mom is German and is from Germany. My dad is from Trenton, New Jersey. They met in Germany. Long story short, I was born in Texas at about 9 months old. I moved to Germany, then I moved to New Jersey when I was like 8 or 9. And then after a year of that, came down to South Carolina. And so I was out a good bit of my first grade year. I did not really know how to read very well. And so I didn't actually learn how to read until third grade. Got into a good bit of trouble in school at times. My attitude got the best of me, but my grades were always good. That's what I always tell kids. My grades were always good. I had to pick a struggle. Either the behavior can't be right, But no, I had
gotta pick a struggle.
You got to pick a struggle, right? But no, so I had some teachers who really just saw the potential that I had, and they sort of pushed me into leadership. Student council in elementary school. And then I started, being on a step team. And then from there, when I got to high school, I got into student council again very heavily, became a state student council officer, was class president, and then eventually student body president. So I just had teachers who really saw the potential in me. And despite, my family, financial situations, or whatever I was going through, they just continued to push me and really changed my behavior. So when I got to ninth grade, that really is when I realized that I control my attitude and I control my behavior, and I really started focusing more on leadership. And as I started reflecting, as I got older in high school, I really realized that I wanted to do what teachers did for me for students like me. So I went to college, got a degree in middle level education, math and science, and worked in primarily rougher schools. Because I like building relationships with students who maybe you don't have the most support at home. Maybe you're not the richest kid. Maybe you don't have the nicest clothes. To me, that stuff doesn't matter. Just to show those kids love and let them know that they can be whatever it is they want to be. That is what inspires me to be in education, because I need you to know that your background does not determine your future. Whether you're in a one-parent household, two-parent household, no-parent household, to me, it doesn't matter. As long as somebody can push you and motivate you and show you love and let you know that you're capable of anything, you can be successful. And so that has always been my goal. And that is why I'm so dedicated to education and student wellness and really the whole child versus just an academic number when we're looking at students.
That's great. Again, we get a reoccurring thing that kind of keeps coming up in every one of our podcast episodes. No person that we talk to was ever really looking at education when they started. Almost every one of us were all people that were like, I wasn't really the best student when I was a student. It's like something changed that made them start to look in that direction, whether it's someone or something, or it was just something that kind of, like, as we put in the last one, like flicked you toward that way and started like veering you to realize, wait, maybe I want to do the exact same thing as someone did for me and made me better. So it's always interesting to hear that, because we've had a privilege now to speak to multiple people that have either been, administrators of the year or, fantastic teachers, speakers, and every one of them are all said something like, I didn't want to be a teacher when I started, which was just great. Cause it's just one of those, like, you realize that it's just something that's inside of you.
Right. And what's interesting for me is I wanted to teach since about 3rd, 4th grade, maybe a little younger than that. I never envisioned that I would go into administration until I started teaching. I always thought I would be one of those people, I taught my whole life. I taught 35 years. That was always my thought. And then, again, when I got to high school, I'm like, yeah, this is really what I want to do. I was dead set on I'm going to be like a career teacher. I'm going to be that, old veteran teacher and then, very quickly I was like, think I need to go the leadership route. But again, if you would have told me at 19, 20, you're going to be an administrator, I'd be like, no, I'm not. So that, very interesting.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? So my story is I was a teacher. I was happy being a teacher. And my district required that I go back to school to get a master's degree.
Did they pay for it?
They did not. Ultimately, they paid for it, but they didn't pay with money.
Interesting.
They're still paying for it, right? Because in doing so, they ended up, losing a homegrown, kid who just wanted to be in the classroom, just wanted to, be that sort of, community figure. What they required for me to keep my job, I had to get a master's degree, and then had the nerve to say it doesn't matter what the master's degree was in. And I was like, well, if I have to get a master's degree, I'm an English teacher. I didn't need a master's in English, and it really boiled down to, well, do I want a master's in curriculum and instruction, or do I want a master's in school leadership? So I went the school leadership route. And then there was a pay freeze. And so we didn't give pay increases for 3 years.
Wow.
And
even getting your master's?
I'm sorry?
Even with getting your master's?
Right. Well, so I guess I would have, once the master's sort of hit, once I finished the master's, I would have gotten a pay raise. But at that point, the pay raises would have been, I don't know, maybe $1,500, something like that.
Yeah.
But at that point, I had a master's in school administration, and my salary would double if I took a job as a school administrator. So I took a job as school administrator. I actually ended up moving down from Massachusetts down to North Carolina. But that was sort of my move to, like, you guys are playing with my money. Like, I got school loans to pay off.
Right.
And so it made sense financially. And then I fell in love with being a school administrator.
Correct.
But what ended up making that change for you?
So I'm just a candid person. So lack of leadership in administrators is sort of what started it. The beginning of my career, I just got really frustrated with, like, why are these the policies that we're having to follow? Why is this the procedure we're putting in place? This has nothing to do with children. You're talking about, and again, when you're working in rougher schools, you're working with a student population that just really needs instruction and good instruction, and they need love. Like, you making us do things that really has nothing that's going to it has nothing to do with students, and it's not going to benefit students. This is just extra stuff for no reason. It makes no sense. And then when you can't give any, like, here's the reason we're doing this, and it's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And I just, at that point they were like, oh, he's a rebel. No, I'm not a rebel. I'm just doing what's best for kids. And then at the end of the year, my scores reflected that, right? And so then it was, moving into my second year, it was, well, I know you say you're not going to do this, but at least you have good score. Yeah, because I'm going to do what's best for kids. That's why I got into the profession. And so I think to try to get me to understand, they were like, well, what if you join these district, committees, and what if you help teach other teachers and blah, blah. I'm fine doing that. I have no problem doing that. So I started being on these district committees, and I started leading stuff with teachers. And the longer I was in education as a teacher, I kept being asked, well, you have really good classroom management. You have really good ideas and activities. You should really teach other people how to do this. Can you coach this teacher? Can you do that? And I just, I was like, maybe I need to start looking at leadership. So then I got my master's in school administration, and in doing my internship, I was under a fantastic principal, Dr. Marty Connor, who is just amazing. But doing that internship, I was like, man, as an administrator, you really have the power to control what happens in your building in terms of student success, teacher support, vision. As an administrator, you give teachers the autonomy to say, hey, try something crazy that has never been done before to see if it's going to move kids. And that inspired me. So even though I loved being in the classroom, knowing that I could have, a larger impact in the leadership role, that's sort of what made me move to administration. And then I got into the role and fell in love with it. So
tell us a little bit about year one as an admin. Not so much the principal one just yet. Year one as an admin of going through, because we all learned it through baptism by fire.
Oh,
because it is always the fun thing that we all think about, all those books we read, all that stuff we did, and really it was just
nothing prepares you.
Yeah, it's just the law book is the only one you go back to. Going like,
right.
Break the law? No,
That's
I didn't break the law. I'm good.
That's right.
Like, tell us a little bit about your first year.
I will never forget it. Good, bad, or indifferent. I will never forget it. No, so seriously, I am in a district. We are doing much better now. And I'm the district I started administration in is the district I'm still in. We are doing a much better job now of providing new administrators training than when I started. I will never forget my first day. Your first day, you go in like, oh, I'm going to be the best administrator ever. My principal is like, hey, you ready? Like, this is it. And I'm like, yeah. And then he gives me my keys and he opens my office door and he goes, all right, here are your keys. Good luck, buddy. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, again, thinking that it's going to be an immediate grind. Let's get to it, blah, blah. And I sit in my office and I just remember thinking like, so now what? Like, I really had no idea. And then maybe an hour later, people start coming in and I need this, I need that, I need this. And you just, okay. And you just start doing stuff. So first year definitely was trial by fire. I remember, the first few times you deal with disciplinary things, again, no book prepares you for some of the stuff you deal with, right? Some of the scenarios I dealt with, I just remember thinking like, this is happening in a school? Like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. But what I learned in my first year, I am not one who tends to ask for help. I'm not one who, tends to reach out. I just kind of suffer in silence. At least as a teacher, that was more so me. As an administrator, I learned very quickly that I was not going to be successful if I did not have mentors that can sort of push me and give me direction and that I could ask questions to. I was blessed to be on a team where when I didn't know how to do something, I could ask questions. I was blessed to work for a principal where when I'm like, hey, I kind of want to try this program. He's like, well, flush it out, bring me the details. And as long as I could give him some details, he's like, do it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it does, great. So I was really able to kind of flap my wings under his leadership. But that first year, oh man, I was 27 when I first started. So the other issue I had, teachers are like, well, I've been teaching longer than you've been alive. So I know you're new to this, blah, blah. And they learn very quickly, like, Mr. Perry's not one to play with. I'm still your boss. So you're going to either follow, what we said you're going to do, or I'll write you up. Either way, I'm good. And so really learning, how to communicate with people, learning how to get people to buy in, learning how to get people to trust me. All of that happened within the first year. And so I remember when the school year was over, that was probably the best sleep I've ever gotten because I didn't sleep during the year.
Right.
So yeah, the first year is definitely interesting. Oh yeah.
You mentioned mentors, which is huge.
Yes.
I don't know if people, maybe they do. Maybe other professions also recognize how big having a mentor is. I think back to one of the mentors I had early in my career, um, Dr. Flood, and he told me, "Listen, people don't like indecisive leaders." He's like, I've often been wrong, but never in doubt."
Yep. Yep.
Right. So you mentioned mentors. What is the best advice you received from a mentor?
Take your time. Again, I am a fast thinker. I'm a fast mover. Anybody that has, worked with me, or and now if you ask my staff, they're like, "Oh my God, you don't stop moving." Listen, I am like the Energizer Bunny. When I get in, we're going, we're moving. Here's what we're doing. This is what I need you to do. This is what we're gonna do. Moving into the admin role, I was so used to, like, if I get an email, I respond immediately. Well, y'all are administrators. Sometimes we get an email that makes you just like, hold up now. You starting to pull some strings. You gonna get the other side of me. And so just take your time. If you don't know an answer, find an answer before you just give something incorrect. And that honestly was the best piece of advice, because there are moments where, someone's like, "I need an answer now." I really don't have one. Give me 5 minutes. Let me find an adequate answer. Let me give you the correct information the first time. And so that has been, what I would say is the best piece of advice. And then the other one is listen before you speak. And I can say, dealing with parents and students and teachers, a lot of times people want to be heard. And there are a lot of leaders who don't listen. They talk. And so anytime someone comes to me with an issue, I listen intently. I take notes. I ask clarifying questions, just so I can make sure that before I respond, I'm understanding their perspective. And I try to find a solution that's going to make them feel, 1, appreciated, 2, heard, and then 3, make sure that I can give them a solution that's going to remedy whatever situation they're having. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things we as educators, when we first come into there, is we all try to be that go and answer quick, do this fast.
Yes.
And then realizing, oh my God, that got me in trouble. Okay, let me settle that one down. Maybe I didn't have all the answers, didn't have those information. Maybe I need to take one step back before I hit send on that email. Or let me first get a moment. Let me find out all aspects of it before I go and tell you the answer of it, because we know when we jump ahead, we sometimes miss all the details that we really need.
Correct. And yeah, I mean, when you're talking about mentors, I have 2 that have been phenomenal for me. Dr. Brandon Ross and Dr. Brandon Baskett, which Dr. Ross actually was one of the South Carolina Assistant Principals of the Year, I think 2 years or 3 years before me. But it has made a huge difference in my career, making sure that, when I get frustrated or I'm like thinking of something new I want to implement, I run it by them, and I'm like, as an outsider looking in, what do you think about this? How would your staff react if you? And so it's helpful to make sure that you're doing things the right way when you have a mentor. So I definitely would recommend anybody doing that.
Yeah. The other thing I found about having a mentor that was reassuring was, if I was dealing with something and they hear, like, their first response is, "Wait a minute, what happened?"
Yeah.
Okay, all right. This is like super weird. Like, this doesn't happen, right? All right. Okay.
And I would also say too, there are moments when I'm like, you will never guess what happened today. Like, I dealt with this, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we had something like that too." And I'm like, okay, so we're not, it makes me feel better. Like, my school's not going down the deep end, right? Like, so that makes me feel a little better too. At least we're all dealing with the same thing. Thank you, Mr. Perry.
So thinking with that, kind of branching a little bit from the mentor part, your network.
Mm-hmm.
We always talk about, our network. Like, Des and I, we both a while back worked in a former district again. That's how we met each other.
Mm-hmm.
Admins in the same building, though the building had 3 separate schools in it. We were in 2 separate schools, but we were admins together.
Right.
A bunch of our friends that we still talk with to today are all admins that work together in some way, shape, or form, but it's our network that we can always call upon each other when we are running into something we're like, wait a minute, okay, I need to walk this through with somebody else. That's outside of my purview of people that are seeing it the same way maybe I'm at, or I need someone who doesn't know all details. Hear me out. Tell me what I'm doing right or what doing wrong in this. Tell us a little bit. Do you have your own little network kind of like that? And then like how important that is to you?
Yes, I have a few networks. Let me say that. So one, before I even became an administrator, there's a group here in South Carolina called Black Male Administrators. Obviously, being a Black male in education is rare. And then Black male administrators, especially in South Carolina, are super outnumbered. So we, when we meet Black men that are interested in leadership or they're in education, like they're doing a master's in school administration, we will add them to the group. And it really is a group that focuses on leadership development, but also for practicing administrators, for a safe space for us to bounce ideas off each other, issues we're having, problems we're having. How would you respond to this? How would you, if you had a teacher that was doing this, what would you do? That network has been instrumental. Actually, when I was interviewing for admin jobs, several of the guys in there who were principals and assistant principals did mock interviews with me and gave me feedback and tips. And so that, we've all paid it forward. So I regularly host mock interviews for guys that are, looking to get jobs. I'm also in a network of administrators just within my district. So once a month we go out and eat dinner, maybe have a drink. But just, for the first part of it, it really is just, everybody talk about everything that's going on, update us on all the crazy. And then we really talk about, like, how are you moving instruction? How are you dealing with discipline? What incentives have you done in your building to try to either improve discipline, improve faculty attendance, improve student attendance, improve grades, whatever. And just to be able to get ideas from varying perspectives, right? Some elementary folks, some middle, some high, and then to get ideas from people who think differently than you do. I hear stuff and I'm like, that's so simple. Why didn't I think of that? Right? Like it make it, for a minute, you're like, I'm dumb. I could have thought of that. But it's just good to be able to get that advice or get those ideas. And to just be able to have a safe space to bounce ideas and know that, if I use it, you're not like, oh my gosh, you're stealing my secret sauce. Like, it's just nice to have that. And then again, with everything I've done with NASSP, I mean, man, I have like a whole group of people that I like regularly text now. And again, sometimes it's advice and sometimes it's just, I had a crazy day. Tell me I'm not crazy. But it has been very helpful for my mental health, but also for my, my practice to be able to have those networks to lean on whenever I need to lean,
Yeah, I had mentioned on one of our former ones about that the same exact thing. Like with NASSP now, it's so different now getting a chance to go out there versus like when you're going out as it's just a conference, you don't know anybody, you don't see anything. Mm-hmm. Now when you go out there and you have so many faces that you've met, you've talked to, but it's also from across the nation. It's Correct. Not even like, hey, we're dealing with the same problem. Now it's like, you guys have that problem there? Like, we don't, that's what we're doing. Or it's like a situation of like, why do you guys have to do that? We don't do that. And like kind of, but at the same time it goes, oh, we dealt with that. Here's how we did it versus, or it's like, we're in the middle of going through this now. Oh man, this is what we did in our district for it. Can you send me that presentation? Absolutely. Here you go. Yeah. And it's a great piece to have now and see, which I think is so unique, but cool at the same time as you see how different education is from step to step based off these networks. You're kind of seeing how everyone's got their own things, but like the core of the care is still there in the end.
Yes. And I think what's been very interesting going through NASSP is I feel like I have a national perspective now. I think sometimes in education, we get bogged into our area, right? So you're familiar with, everybody uses the same type of programs and everybody uses the same kind of software and technology. And then I go to conferences and they're like, oh, we're using this program. And I'm like, what is that? I've never heard of that. How do you use it? I'm talking about how we're analyzing data and we're crunching all these numbers. And they're like, no, there's a program. You can just upload your spreadsheets and it'll do all the disaggregation for you. Whoa. I mean, it broadens your horizon so much. And so that has been a huge help as well. in terms of just saving time. I've learned things about AI that I never knew existed just from going to conferences. That has saved me lifetimes of time. So yeah.
Yeah. So
I just want to name, because we said it so many times. NASSP. You want to break down what the letters stand for?
Yes, the National Association of Secondary School Principals. And there is also NAESP, National Association of Elementary School Principals. But yes, that is a organization for administration or administrators, nationwide.
I also want to name that they are not a sponsor, so we are not being paid to name drop. However, if you're listening,
yeah,
we are accepting sponsors.
Yes, I'm not a paid sponsor either. So
well, we'll have to bring that up to Ron next time we get an opportunity.
Right.
So, hearing that going, I guess with NASSP, we'll use that as our little segue in. National High School Assistant Principal of the Year. Walk us through, one, the experience of getting to that point, because that is something I don't know if listeners know what it takes to get to that point, because we also, going from the experience of being able to go to the Assistant Principal of the Year celebration,
right.
I realize every state does it completely different than the next.
Yes.
So can you walk us through a little bit about how does South Carolina do it, and then the process you went through to become named the National High School Assistant Principal of the Year?
Absolutely. So the way South Carolina does it is districts vote. So actually, I just submitted nominations for my district. So districts vote on their district assistant principal and principal of the year. So in September of last year, I don't even remember how it happened. I was called for something. I walk into the auditorium and there's just a bunch of people. I remember exactly what it was. My principal sent me to another school because I had to drop off a package of pertinent information. So I'm literally, it's like this heavy envelope and it's taped up, and he's like, there's some like student information in there, so don't open it. But the principal at the other school really needs it. Can you bring it over there real quick? I have to go to a meeting. Sure. So I go over there, and then the principal stops me. He's like, hey, you're over the STEM magnet over there. Have some questions, and just keeps rambling. And I'm like, I have things to do. So I leave, I get back to school, and when I, walk, I get out of my car and I'm walking, my principal's like, I need to have a conversation with you. We have an issue. And I'm like, okay. So he goes on to tell me that there's a really upset parent that's there because a teacher used a racial slur, supposedly. And this parent is on 10. And so I'm like, great, right? So like I'm getting ready to go into a hostile meeting, right? My mood is shifting, like I'm getting the serious Perry on. And then he's like, we're gonna move some tables. I got some tables to move, and then we'll go into the meeting. But I just need you to know, like, the parent is hot, so just be ready. And I'm like, okay. So we walk into the auditorium, and there's just a bunch of people yelling, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So one district AP of the year. The pictures are great because my face is like, this is not an angry parent. So from there, I had to apply for our state assistant principal of the year. 18-page application. I had a week to get it done. Fill out the application, answering all these questions, blah, blah, blah. And then I got an email that I was one of 3 finalists. I had to go down to our, state capital, which is an hour and 15 minutes away from me, for a 10-minute interview. So in my mind, I'm like, are you serious? So I'm like, it can't be a 10-minute interview, right? Like, who does 10-minute interviews? So no lie, y'all, I get there. There's a panel of maybe 8 or 9 people, and then some random person like that's sitting in the corner, and they're like, I'm just a timekeeper. I'm just going to keep time and make sure that it stays to 10 minutes. And I'm like, what? So as soon as they're like, you're ready? And I'm like, yeah. She starts the timer, and she's just, and legit, 12 questions. 10 minutes. And so I'm just, spurting answers out. And then they looked at me when I was done. And they were like, that was all the questions. She's like, you still have a minute left. And they're like, well, we're done. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, bye. All right. Well, it was nice to meet y'all, So that was the end of it. That was in October. And then we heard nothing. So honestly, I kind of forgot about it. And then December comes and my principal tells me I need to make an exam schedule and blah, blah. So I'm working in my office. And then we get called that there's an emergency in the auditorium. So we go running to the auditorium and
Nice, they caught you with that?
Yes. Here we are. The whole district's in there. I mean, just, I won state. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So at that point, the state executive is, she's like, hey, you got to apply for national now. And I'm like, yeah, I'll think about it. And she's like, no. Like, we've already like started it. So like, you need to do it. We're paying for stuff, blah, blah. You need to take care of it. So I'm like, okay, well, if you pay for it, I'll do it. She's like, yeah, it's due in 3 days. Whoa. Like, so then I had to do the online NASSP application, which is like 20 something pages, in 3 days and submit it. And so from there, someone contacted me, I want to say January or February, from NASSP, and they're like, hey, we want you to make a video just talking, tell us about why you're in education, what inspires you, blah, blah, blah. So I make this video. I was really not feeling it because I did the video when I was sick. So I'm like, God, I look a hot mess in this thing, but I submit it or whatever. Then I get an email on a Saturday night at like 9:50 p.m. That's like, congratulations, you're a finalist for NASSP, National Assistant Principal of the Year. And I'm like, this is a typo. Surely they're not talking about me, right? But so they brought us to DC for a weekend, the finalists. We had to bring some items with us to sort of describe how we are. We had to present to each other. We did some professional development, and then we sat through, I think it was like an hour interview with some former APM POIs, Principals of the Year. And then that was literally it. We knew nothing else until the NELA conference when they announced. So while we were there, all of us are like, have you heard anything? Any inkling? Like, well, they literally did not tell us anything until they announced it. So quite a long process. Lots of surprises, lots of interviews. But it was worth it. I met a lot of cool people, and me and the finalists and I were all really, really good friends. So
that's awesome. Now, going to that, what were some of the things that you've put into place that helped get you recognized for that position?
So, I tell everybody, because people are like, oh my gosh, but you do so much, like you're so deserving of this award. I really just feel like I do my job. And I guess, now that I've gone through it and I'm like constantly having to tell my story and what I do, I realize I do a lot of stuff. But I think some of the things that were highlights were just the instructional improvements that happened within my building. So when I started at my school, our math and of course exam pass rate was like a 19 or 20%. At the end of my last year, I think we were at 70 point something percent pass rate. So within 4 years, we made drastic gains in mathematics. And again, that was truly getting teacher buy-in to regularly look at data, target kids in terms of who is meeting and exceeding, like who do we need to enrich, who are bubble kids that we really need to look at. Can we do some reteaching? Can we do some sharing, right? Can you take this person's kids and work with them on these standards? Can you take these? And when I first started, again, that first year, you're talking about first year, here I come. These are things I did as a teacher. And I'm like, we're going to implement this. You're not going to tell me how I'm going to teach my kids but I am, and this is what we're going to do, and it's going to work. And then at the end of that first year, when we went from 19 to 20%, at the end of that first year, I think we're at 48%. The teachers were like, oh my gosh, it worked. Like, this is so great. Blah, blah. And I mean, it was like immediate buy-in. So year 2, 3, and 4, it was, I didn't have to try to get people to buy into it. I mean, they saw that it works. And so that's one of them. I started a male mentoring program at the school called Sharper Nights. And again, we targeted kids from all over. So we targeted kids who I don't want to say target. We looked for kids who maybe really needed some help. Maybe they didn't have two-parent household. Maybe they were homeless. Maybe they just really struggled academically. But then we also had the other side, fantastic student doing well in school, great household, genuinely just wants to be involved in something. And then we kind of hit the middle of the road, like you can go either way kid. So we had about 50 kids in the program, and we were very intentional to talk to them and ask, what can we do to help you be a better man, a better student, a better friend, a better anything. And they gave us all these ideas and we just ran with it, right? And so we created these mini units on just life, financial literacy, relationship advice, how to change a tire, how to cook. We made them do community service. They have to dress up shirt and tie. Twice a month, we make them dress up. And so it became this club where, everybody's like, a mentoring club. You need mentoring? Something's wrong with you. But we also did fun stuff. So as long as they met the obligations of keeping a 70 or higher in their classes and the community service and going to the mentoring meetings, we took them to NBA games. We went bowling. We went skating. We did cookouts, movie nights. I mean, all sorts of things to just give them a positive experience. And it became something that by the time we got to my second year, we stopped having teachers recommend kids and we just did applications. And we had to start turning kids away because too many people wanted to be part of it, which sucked because I don't want to turn kids away, but also for it to continue to be impactful, you have to make sure that you're getting people that really need it. So I think that was another big thing, changing the morale of the school. And you guys know as administrators, sometimes the kids who constantly do the wrong thing get the bulk of your attention. And again, my first year, that was something that I did not like about the job. Like I'm always seeing the same kids, but there are so many more kids who are doing the right thing and I don't even know their name. And I just wasn't okay with that. So I created a program called Shining Nights where we honored students who were showing excellence in a variety of things: arts, athletics, academics, fostering community service. I mean, I didn't just want it to be kids who were, have good grades. And so teachers nominated them, and each month we called them down. We took individual pictures with them. They got like a little, treat or whatever. And so what ended up happening were kids were like, well, I want to be a Shining Night too. And so that started to change kids' mindset of, well, if I do the right thing, my picture will be in the newsletter. I'll be able to do this stuff. And so it started to change the culture of the school. And so a female mentoring group ended up starting. And so now you have kids who are intentionally wanting to do the right things because they want to be like these kids in these mentoring groups. They want to get the Shining Night Award. They want to be plastered in the newsletter and on Facebook and on Twitter. And so eventually the culture from, oh, they're going after everybody and suspending it goes to, oh, they're highlighting everybody that's doing the right stuff, and behavior changes as well. And so I think in doing all of those things and then all the operational things, wellness weekends to take care of mental health for both students and faculty, all of those things sort of just culminated together. And that really, I think, is what highlighted me as assistant principal of the year.
Can you talk about wellness weekend? What is that?
Yes. So again, and I'm giving you like high level view of everything that I do, right? So one of my responsibilities was student activities. So I oversaw all student activities, clubs, organizations, prom, SGA, all that. They all reported to me. So anything they wanted to try, Spirit Weeks, whatever, they had to, I had to approve everything. So my first year, the Student Government Association came to me and they go, Perry, we have a crazy idea. And I told you guys, if it's something crazy and it's not been done before, let's try it. So they're like, I have a crazy idea. And I'm like, great, I want to hear it. Like, let's see what you got. And they're like, what if, right, you as administration tell teachers they can't give us homework for a weekend, like cannot assign us anything. And I was like, okay. Like, why? And so they're like, but also you tell teachers that they're not allowed to work either. And the reason for it is because we want them to do something that just focuses on mental health and physical health. Like they can exercise, or they can watch a movie with their family, or spend time with their friends or whatever. And they take pictures of doing things that focus on mental and physical health. And that's sort of like the assignment for the weekend is everybody does stuff that focuses on mental and physical health, and we post it to social media, and nobody works. And I was like, sold, let's do it. Like, love that idea. Fantastic. Why didn't I think of this? Right? Like, that's one of those ideas. It's like, that's so simple. Why didn't I think of that? And so we tried it, and it just became a thing. And so after that, every single year, I'm like, yes, here are wellness weekends each month. This is what we're going to do. Nobody works. Nobody's allowed to have assignments. Our faculty members, their lesson plans are due 8 a.m. on Monday. If it's a wellness weekend, your lesson plans are now due 8 a.m. on Tuesday, because I don't want you working on lesson plans over the weekend. And so, I implemented that, and it went off without a hitch. And so now, my first year principal, I brought it here to the middle school, and it's like telling people they just won gold. They're like, oh my God, I love it. But again, it really, we deserve it. People who work in education, it is a nonstop grind. And even for students, if you're really pushing kids to be great and succeed in school, when they come to school, they're working and they're learning, and they're, and so everyone needs a break to just be themselves. And it has made a big difference. They look forward to it each month.
Awesome. Yeah, Marco and I had an episode on wellness, and we talked about the kind of the need of getting permission to back off, right? To give ourselves the grace of we don't have to work 1,000 hours a week, and make sure that we're the last car pulling out of the building every night. And I love that. I love the idea, especially when you have a culture of just really hardworking people saying, look, this is what we're going to do. You are not expected, and in fact, you are encouraged not to do this, because we know that people are putting in that many hours, that burnout and the need for whether it's sick days, mental health days, whatever, increases. So absolutely kudos to you for having the vision, and honestly the courage to hear that and really run with it.
Yeah, it was one where, again, when I heard it, the first sentence, I'm like, where are you going with this, right? But by the time they got the whole idea out, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is brilliant. And so that, that's one thing that we've done. Bringing in, really focusing on mental health is another one. Art therapy classes here in schools. Very glad that we were able to partner with our local hospitals to do that. And again, it's for students who are having some, it's like a tier 3 intervention. If you're really having some mental health difficulties, maybe you're a student who doesn't want to talk about it. So we bring in, trained therapists that do art therapy with them, and so they can still get therapy, but maybe in a way that is more effective for them. And again, that's another one where when I first heard it, I was like, we're going to pull kids out of class to do art therapy? I don't know that that's going to work. And then I went to a session, and these kids were so in it. Like, I sat with you and talked with you with a counselor and a school-based therapist, and you didn't want to say anything, but you're doing this art therapy, and you're just opening up about everything. And, you're talking about how much better you feel and all that. And I'm like, this is brilliant. And so we actually started it this year at the middle school. They brought it to the middle school because of how successful it was in the high schools, but focusing on that stuff, I really don't think people understand if your kids and your teachers aren't well, the success is not going to come. And so I've made it my mission to make sure that we're focusing on the mental well-being of those in the building so that we can actually have the success we want.
I love that. And I'm stealing Wellness Weekend because I've already written down the notes of how you started that piece. I know it's the outside version of it, like that high level, but I think I can whip something up based off of those statements you made, because that's definitely sounds like something I think my staff would get behind. I think would be interesting. And actually, no offense, my own self. Because I could probably use it too, to be told I need to take a day off and I need to just go and basically take photos with my kids doing things, instead of basically saying in my own head where I'm like, no, I'm going to only work from this hour to this hour early morning before anyone gets up. And then it ends up being 3 to 4 hours after everyone's up and they're doing stuff. And I'm sitting still at a computer, putting stuff away or doing whatever I have to do for it. Like, like you said, analyzing data, going through for those pieces.
Yeah. And I mean, if there's one thing I would say, stick to it. I'm sure y'all have teachers in your building where you tell them don't work and they're like, yeah, okay, I got stuff to do for my kids. I had that too. And they were like, but I can't, I have stuff to do. Keep telling them like, no, you deserve this time. Take this time. And seriously, it's not hard. Come up with 4 or 5 challenges for them to do, right? Watch a movie with your family. The one I did this past month in August, try a new recipe and cook with your family. Again, even if you're not the best cooks, it's fun. And it's, it's something to get your mind off of it. But yeah, you take some pictures, upload it to social media, and you just celebrate the fact that, hey, we care about ourselves.
So, love it. I think it's a great idea.
And it's free. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, those are those things that are the interesting ones that you find that end up having the biggest impact.
Yeah.
Like we do once to probably twice now a month. We'll do Friday. We do like a DJ game show. Like we'll call right in homeroom. We play something in the morning. Like I jump on and I tell everyone, all right, guys, name the song and the artist. We play everything from Whitney Houston to whatever's to today. And we always go like, caller number 10. Gets a little fun for my principal and I, because we get to hang the phone up on people and keep going like, nope.
You're calling number 2, quick.
Exactly. I'll be like, hey, name the singer and the thing, and they start doing like, oh, you're 2, and I just like hang the phone up on them. But they love it. But like the funny thing about it is that like the kids are all into it, the staff are, and the staff get a duty period off. All it just means is I cover their duty for them for that time period, and they have a blast with it every single time, and we always works, and it's a silly thing. Sometimes it's free that just people enjoy, and you can find like it gets people all involved in it. So I love that idea there for the wellness weekend.
Yeah.
I got one last question for you to think of. And I want to hear your thoughts on this one, because we know as admins, we tend to take on a lot, especially when we first start. I want you to think of 2 parts of this question. One, do you think if you left your school, or you want to think of the school you just left, is it still the same school running the same way with you not there? If not, and this is the hard part to it. If not, do you think you actually made the impact you think you did because you were the one doing all the work? Like you didn't change the structures and pieces, or did you do that where now those structures, that building can still move the way it does without you needing to be the piece that's in there?
So,
and this is not a question to get you in trouble. This is more a philosophical question of like the idea. This got posed to me at one point when I was showing some of the stuff we've done as a school and the improvements we've had. Correct. The statement said, those are all great, but if you leave tomorrow, does all that still stay?
Correct. So I am a firm believer that a good leader doesn't do it all. They teach others how to do it so that when they're gone, it can continue. So after my 3rd year at West Florence, I was looking for principalships. And I came to the realization that I did not feel that the structures were in place to continue what I put in place if I were to leave. And so I made the conscious decision to stay another year. My 4th year, I was very committed to making sure that, monthly food trucks that I bring in for faculty and staff, that there was a faculty member who was over it. Prom, we created a prom committee so that I did not have to do everything for prom. Wellness weekends, people knew how it ran. They knew how to put it on the school calendar. Space reservations, they knew how to, work the Google form to make sure that it worked. So I ensured that people learned the things that I did to keep it going. The math department, they were already running themselves with data and things like that. So all of that happened. Well, at the end of my 4th year, right, we have 6 administrators. One of the 6 is still there. The entire team flipped. Several of us got promotions. One person got moved to another school. And so this year has kind of sucked for me. Let me not say that. It is going great for me. I'm loving the job. The school I'm at is fantastic. I'm loving the kids, loving the faculty. However, I am receiving regularly emails, phone calls, texts, from faculty, from community members, parents, and they're like, you need to go back. You need to go back. It's just not the same. It's bubble.
Yep.
And it makes me feel so guilty because I feel the same way. Like I didn't do it well enough if it's not happening. But then I also have to remember that it was a totally different administration. We had a different vision. We had a different goal. And there's a new administrative team over there, and they have their own vision and their own mission, and things are going to run differently. And so I'm having to remember that it's not that I necessarily didn't leave the blueprint on how to make it happen. There's just a team over there who wasn't there. They don't know how to do it, and they have their own blueprint for what they want. And so there are still a few things that are still happening over there, but a lot of it, from what I'm hearing, has stopped, which kind of makes me a little sad. But I know that they're in good hands, right? Like they're with a leadership team that's going to be successful and is doing great things. And so what I've sort of chopped it up to is it's, every so many years a school changes and transitions to continue moving forward. And so the school really is just in a transition phase where, they're not going to go backwards because I'm not there. It's just transitioning, and there's going to be some new things put in place to make it work. Likewise, I am at a school now where I'm implementing these things, and it's different from what's been here before, but we're not going to go backwards, we're going to go forwards. It's just a different thing. And so I've had to come to terms with that. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Honestly, I think that is very true. That, and all I can think is like, it's not, you're shedding almost the skin of the next next phase of that school.
Yep.
Because every school goes through it. There's always an admin there that has done something a certain way. Everyone's used to that. You have your people that were hired during that time period. Then the new person comes in and tries to change things or move things to just certain ways. You'll have individuals who don't feel comfortable with it. Then you got new hires that don't know anything else but it, and now that's their norm.
Correct.
So it moves its way through. But I like the fact that you did say you understood that piece too, because I think that is something for all great admins to do. They have to realize, like, you start off, I think, always being the person who thinks I have to be Superman and do it all.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really make the change for the schools is when you decide to step back and realize others have to take the reins on these things. You can still see it, watch it, but you can't be the one to run it all. So
Correct.
that it is the school that's really flourishing, not just you as the individual.
Correct. And eventually you're going to burn out if you don't figure out how to create the systems to make it happen, and you're doing it all. Eventually that steam will run out, and then what? Right?
Or times change. You have different things that are going on. Your kids get older. You maybe if you're not married, you get married. You have kids yourself. All of a sudden, now those extra things you did on the weekends get replaced with other things.
Correct.
Or your time period of staying late starts to change because now you have other obligations too. Same that happens with teachers. We know every brand new teacher out of college will stay till 9 o'clock at night if you let them. And then they realize, then at one point they have kids and they're like, I'm going to go home because I want to see my kid grow up. So I'll do that work tomorrow, and I'll do the next. And it doesn't mean to become a different teacher. They're still the same great teachers if they've now realized priorities and they realize how to accomplish what they did in the past in a shorter period of time.
Correct.
But yeah. Saani, thank you so much for joining us today for this. We really enjoyed the conversation. Is there any last words that you'd like to say, or anything you need to promote that you'd like to promote? You can go ahead and do that.
I don't have anything to promote but happiness. Seriously, I mean, anybody that's in an administrative role or a teaching role, anyone who works in education, like the job that we have, I really don't think people understand how time consuming it can be. And I don't think they understand the gravity of the work that we do. You're really talking about changing the lives of our future. So thank you to everybody who's in education. Thank you to those who have dedicated themselves to it. It is not an easy job. But like we talked about in the beginning, everyone who's in it has found their way to it because of the love of wanting to do something better for those below us, that are younger than us. So yes, spread that happiness, keep changing lives, and every day is a different day, but every day is a day for us to make an impact.
Des, any last words?
No, I think that was a perfect way to close it out.
I agree. Well, with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast today. Des, as always, it's great having conversations with you. School's out.
School's out. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Know this, you all will be missed. Until then, I gotta blow you a kiss. Until we meet again on that other side, this my rhyme. We all love you to the end of this time, always. Know this, you all will be missed. Until then, I gotta blow you a kiss. Until we meet again on that other side, this my rhyme. We all love you to the end of this time, always.